I've put together the 18 holes that I believe would combine to make the greatest Open Championship course.
With 18 major tournament wins in his career, Jack Nicklaus is without doubt the greatest golfer there has ever been. From his first appearance at Troon in 1962 until his emotional farewell to tournament golf at the Old Course in 2005, Nicklaus's first love was the Open Championship, and there is no one more qualified to speak about the Open Championship and its courses than the man known affectionately as the Golden Bear.
I could have almost picked 6 or 7, 8 holes from any one of these golf courses. They're all wonderful golf courses. I wanted to pick, at least one hole from every golf course. I wanted to pick a composite golf course of really good golf holes, fun holes, frustrating holes, difficult holes, scary holes, dramatic holes, but most of all, they're British Open golf.
Currently, the Open is played on the rotation of 9 links courses, 5 in Scotland and 4 in England. Links golf, the earliest form of the game, is played on untamed coastal courses that are more prone to dramatic changes in wind and weather conditions. These courses have, over the years, thrown up some of the most exciting, dramatic and emotional moments in the history of sport. At the Open, we've had moments of absolute brilliance.
Can't be, can
it? Moments of heartbreaking cruelty.
It tries, but comes back again.
And moments that would melt the hardest heart.
But of typical Spanish emotion.
And of course, there have also been moments of tragedy and high farce.
Unbelievable scenes.
Expect to see the entire range of human emotion on display as Jack starts his round on the first hole on his greatest Open course.
On the tee, Jack Nicklaus.
Well, there are 9 championship golf courses to choose from, and of the 9, I think the first hole at Birkdale's 450-yard par 4 is probably the most difficult and most challenging starts of any of the open rotos. It's a slight dogleg left. It has a bunker on the left side that you either carry. The closer you play to the bunker, the better shot you have in the green, because there's 2 bunkers in the front right of the green that protect that green and are very difficult to play out of. The green is a relatively flat green. It's not a difficult green. A little bit more of a tabletop, a little harder to chip to at times, but it's just a very difficult start.
Many of the greats have won at Royal Birkdale. Arnold Palmer won his first Open here in 1961. Tom Watson his 5th. And in 2008, Greg Norman went to the first tee on the final day, looking to become the oldest winner in Open history. A dropped shot at the first set the tone for Norman's round, allowing Ireland's Padraig Harrington to chip away at his lead and eventually claim his second Open championship.
It's a tough starting hole. It's one that if you make 4 on, you're quite happy to go to the second. Well, I chose the second hole at Muirfield. It's about a 352-yard par 4. At times, can be a drivable par 4. And I picked that hole because I thought it was a dangerous hole. If you try to drive it at the green, you have a chance of hitting the ball out of bounds. I like holes that give you the opportunity for a decision, and the decision is, can I almost start the ball on the out of bounds and challenge the green? So you've got to, you take a pretty big, deep swallow when you're standing on that tee if you're going to play driver.
Magnificent drive from Jack Nicklaus. He really put all his beef into it.
You really want to make birdie at this hole because it's a hole that can sort of set your round off. And even if you bogey the first hole, the second hole is a place you can make it up. And you get back to even par.
Nicklaus, who got rather a struggling par 4 at the first. Oh, yes. And that's just the sort of thing you want going for you in the early stages.
It's a fairly mundane hole if you're playing out to the right, but a lot of fellows like to, it just sits there and says, I want you to try to have me, you know, I want you to try to get me. And a lot of fellows do, and a lot of times it gets them. It's been over 40 years since I've played Holylake. But the hole that stood out in my mind the most, not necessarily maybe the best hole on the golf course, was the third hole.
When Jack played the Royal Liverpool course known as Holylake in 1967, this was the first hole, but is now played as the third in the Open Rota.
If I were to design a golf hole, would I ever design one like it? No. Would I want to play one? No. It is straight out with a 90-degree angle to the right. The out of bounce is right on the right edge of the fairway on the tee shot, right on the right edge of the fairway on the second shot. When we played it as the first hole, it was a very, very dangerous golf hole.
Back in 1967, Jack lost by 2 shots to Argentina's Roberto De Vincenzo. Holylake was then removed from the Open Rota, and it would be 39 years before the championship came back to the Merseyside course. And who better to mark its return in 2006 than an emotional Tiger Woods, winning his third Open title and his first major following the death of his father.
Tiger Woods is the 135th Open champion. He is the champion golfer of the year.
The third hole, it's a golf hole that you play for par. If you make birdie, great, but you're not playing for birdie. You're trying to make sure that you make 4 and certainly no more than 5. Well, my 4th hole is at Royal St. George's. It is now a 486-yard par 4. When I played there, it was probably in the 440 range. They have since lengthened the hole. And by lengthening the hole, they've even made it more dramatic. There's a huge dune on the right side of the tee shot. When I played there, we could drive it over it relatively easy, but if you didn't quite catch it and the wind was in your face, it always came into play, but it was always just sitting there in your face saying, okay, come and get me. It was very scary, and it just sort of made you think, boy, I do not want to be in there. I might be there all day. The green is not anything exceptional. It's more the tee shot and how it sets up to be able to play the second shot. And if you can walk off to that hole with a birdie, you really have played some golf, and you're really going to get a pretty good jump on the field.
Royal St. George's has seen many great champions. G.H. Taylor won in 1894, Harry Vardon in 1911, and Walter Hagen in 1922. But it would be another 63 years before the Scottish saltire was raised at the Sandwich Course, when Sandy Lyle won his only Open in 1985.
Well, the 5th hole I picked is the 5th hole at Turnberry. I think the 5th hole at Turnberry is aesthetically one of the most beautiful holes in all of British golf. You're driving from the top of a dune down into a valley. If you put the ball in the rough there, multiple penalties can happen. Because when you put it in the rough, you're really going to be forced to almost pitch the ball out, because you have all maybe 200 yards up over a bunch of other rough uphill into the wind. You can't do it. It's really important to put the ball in the fairway, and then it's really important not to end up in the short left bunker, which is a very deep bunker and very difficult to play out of. So you play into a position which leaves you a middle to long iron uphill into a green that is very well bunkered on both right and left. It's a difficult hole. It's a challenging hole. There's nothing specifically that I have done on this hole that is memorable, except that I was really happy if I ever walked off with 4.
Nothing memorable, really? Because the Open at Turnberry in 1977 was something that will live long in the memory of everyone privileged enough to witness it. There, the world's top 2 golfers, Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson, went head-to-head and produced one of the greatest ever sporting occasions, the duel in the sun.
And the huge crowd burst through the ropes in their efforts to watch this titanic struggle.
On the final day of the Open, with both players 10 shots ahead of the rest of the field, the huge sun-baked Scottish crowd witnessed a quality of golf never before seen.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
On the 18th green, and with the match seemingly lost, Nicklaus made one last dramatic putt to put the pressure back on his young opponent.
Can't be, can it? What about that then? But suddenly, young Master Watson has to pull himself together.
Jack then sportingly hushed the crowd as Watson prepared to putt.
This for the championship. Yes, well. It was absolute drama to the end. I don't think I've seen anything better than that in my life, and neither of you.
Well, the 6th at Carnoustie is 520 yards with an out-of-bounds fence right along the left edge of the fairway. There's a bunker that sits in the fairway, and there's a place, I believe they call it Hogan's Alley, between the bunker and the fence, where you want to play it down this alley, and Hogan would play it down that alley. I chose to play it to the right of it. I wasn't that good most of the time. It's a difficult hole, even though not terribly long in measured yards, but long in the way it plays, because the wind generally comes from right to left and sweeps you to the out of bounds. Playing there in 1968, I believe, I got to the last round, and I was in contention to win the golf tournament. So I decided I was going to challenge the hole and hit a little right to left shot and try to carry the bunker or put it into the left side of the fairway. I hit it out of bounds. Cost me the golf tournament. I lost by 1. Well, it may have been 2, but either way, that hole, with the challenge, I challenged it, and I came up empty. To match up and make an 18-hole golf course and try to get a par 72, I needed a par 5. And the 7th hole at Lytham is not the most difficult hole we play. It's a very good golf hole. I just like the hole. It's a demanding tee shot with bunkers along the right and high rough. You put the ball into the fairway, you have a narrow opening to get into the green, big high dune on the right side of the green, a short bunker just short of in the dune, which leaves you about a 40-50 yard shot, which is very, very difficult. Difficult because it drops very sharply off the left side of the green, difficult little chip.
Difficult perhaps, but as Darren Clarke showed in 1996, when the conditions are right, even an eagle is possible on the 7th.
Over the mounds, what a wonderful shot, and it is terrific.
It's a good hole, it's a solid hole, it's a challenging hole, it's a fun hole.
Nicklaus playing the long 7th.
I would have to say that I probably birdied it far more than I did anything else, more than pars on that hole.
What a shot.
I've played it well through the years. I have good memories of never really hurting myself in the hole, but always playing the hole cautiously. I always played aggressively cautious.
And Jack wishes he'd had another spoonful of porridge.
So it's a lot of times of saying, okay, I'm aggressive, but I'm going to protect myself and not put myself in a bad position because I know I can make birdie, without a perfect shot. I just need a good shot.
A very good birdie 4, and Nicklaus chasing the leaders now at 2 under par.
If I didn't pick the postage stamp at Troon as one of my favorite holes, I would be missing the boat. The 8th at Troon, 123 yards, one of the most famous par 3s in the game of golf. It's a really neat golf hole. It's a great view standing on top of the tee looking out. You're looking out at the sea with a little postage stamp with a little dune high left behind it, and the golf course sits out in front of you. It's a very pretty sight, and it's one of my favorite holes in all of golf.
Gene Sarazen, who failed to qualify here 50 years ago this week when he was US Open champion.
In 1973, at the age of 71, Gene Sarazen became the oldest man in the history of the Open to do what most golfers won't do in their lifetime.
I love the postage stamp. I love little short par 3s. I love that little shot with you got a little bit of room in the front of the green, really difficult bunker on the left, drops deep off into a bunker on the right, and you might go from one side to the other side, back to the other side, back to the other side, and you might be there for a while.
And that's exactly what happened to poor old Peter Oosterhuis in 1973. A wayward tee shot was chipped out of the dune, across the postage stamp, and into a bunker.
And that's sort of the fun of the hole. It's also the difficulty, and it's also the frustration of the hole. You put the ball on the green, or bye-bye.
Tee shots at the 9th hole for Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson. How about that for a spectacular setting?
I chose the 9th hole at Turnberry because it's a famous hole. If you designed that hole today, the owner would be asking for his money back. It's probably my least favorite hole at Turnberry from a golf standpoint. And the reason I say that, it's a very awkward tee shot. I don't think the tee shot is not receptive at all to a golf shot. It's sort of a hog's back. You hit it left and it goes into the left rough. You hit it right and it goes into the right rough. I think relatively unfair. I mean, I would hit it one day and it would go right down the middle and would be there. The next day I walked out, hit the same tee shot, I'd be 20 yards into the rough because of the bounce I got off of the hog's back. And you're absolutely sitting there, you're mad at yourself, you're mad at the golf course, you're mad at the hole, but you can't wait to get back the next day to make sure that you can beat it.
Chance to go ahead. Nicklaus in the lead again.
It's just one of those holes that frustrates everybody, and everybody that gets there complains about it. But it's been there for years, we've played it for years, and everybody knows exactly what the problem is. So you accept it and go play it. Well, the 10th hole at Muirfield, I think is a really solid hole. I think that I looked through the rotation, tried to find 10th holes, and I just felt it was the best 10th hole that we play. It's a good hole, it's a strong hole. I always have loved the tee shot. The bunkers on the right side of the fairway seem to sit in there, and they seem to be, challenge me. The hole gets narrower the longer it goes. If you walk off with 4, you're very happy. I always remember playing a practice round there, and we had a fellow hit the ball in the right rough. And this is during 1966. And he went over hunting for his golf ball, and he put his bag down, and the rough was knee-high. And he said, well, did you find the ball? No, but I can't. I'm not worried about the golf ball anymore. I can't find my bag.
Events at the railway hole typify Jack Nicklaus's day.
The 11th hole at Troon, the railway. Oh, it is a tough, tough golf hole. Right along the railway, gorse on the right, gorse on the left, very little fairway to play to. the out of bounds with the railway on the right on the second shot. The wind is usually sweeping left to right across the golf hole. It's a very, very difficult hole. You play it usually off the tee to just, how do I survive the hole? The first Open Championship I played there in 1962, and I got it in the gorse, didn't know how to get it out or what to do with it, and I made a lot of strokes. So that hole has always been a very difficult and frustrating hole to me, and a very dangerous hole.
Just ask Tiger Woods how dangerous this hole can be. In his first Open as a professional in 1997, Tiger's tee shot found the gorse bushes and left him in a heap of trouble.
You really don't know where the left edge of the fairway is, and you don't know where the right edge of the fairway is. So when you hit it, your first reaction, did it carry? Yeah, it carried. Did it stop? Because you're playing at an angle through the fairway.
I think he just belted it straight into the bank in front.
And if you get it in the fairway, you've still got this long shot into the green that's sitting right against the wall that goes to the railway. So you always can have the chance of hitting the green and bouncing over the wall out of bounds.
A triple bogey 7 and Tiger's dream of a debut Open Championship ended at the 11th.
I think it's probably the most dangerous hole that I know in British golf.
Two under. What a wonderful start to the championship for Jack. Amazing sound some of the equipment produces. And that's a lovely shot. That is probably the best iron shot we've seen here today.
Well, the 12th at Royal Lytham, 196 yards. Not extremely long par 3. It's very flat. The top of the green was very flat. As you stood back on the tee, you say, okay, if the pin is back in behind that bunker, I know I have to carry that bunker. Or I can play a low shot, and maybe I can run it through it. You hit this nice shot up there, and all of a sudden you see it sort of catch the edge. You say, oh my gosh, here it goes. And you see it just sort of gently just peel down the slope into the bunker, and you know you've got a sand shot.
Calcavecchia did actually make it into the bunker at the 12th.
But once you play it and once you look at it, you say, aha, this green's not as big as I think it is, because that part of that green is part of that bunker, not part of the green.
No trouble to Calcavecchia. There she goes.
It was a hole that you really had to play a very good golf shot, and yet you didn't always get the perfect result.
Now Ernie's gone for a fade. He's going to try and go around the bunker left to right. Here it comes. What a shot. Stop. Didn't I tell you it was a difficult hole?
Golf was never a fair game and never meant to be. And this is a perfect example of it. The 13th of Birkdale is a long par 4, 498 yards. And it's always just sort of half par 4, half par 5, depending on what the conditions are. I picked that hole for its aesthetics. You tee off slightly elevated, and you're hitting into this valley that works left to right up into the green. I know it's a tough hole, and I know it's a demanding hole. It's not one that you're looking to make birdie on. You can make birdie on it. It's very receptive to two good shots, and I always liked it because it had this dune that ran along the left. It supported the green and the bunkers that are in there on the right. It just sort of fit there. It was just a very pretty hole, and a very demanding hole, but just good, solid golf. A 4 would be a very acceptable score there, and move on. Now you may wonder why I've waited till the 14th hole to pick a hole at St. Andrews, when I frankly, in many ways, could pick 18 holes at St. Andrews. I love St. Andrews. I love the 14th. I just think it's a very demanding, tough, strong golf hole. It's one of the most unusual, most frustrating, hard to figure out how to play par 5s in the world.
Now the 14th and the championship leader, Jack Nicklaus.
The wind was behind you. It was not a difficult hole. But you have a little narrow arrow to play, or you play it way left. But then again, if the wind's strong, you may not reach it past out of the high grass on the left. So you've really got great decision to make off the tee. Then the second shot, it's how do you avoid hell? Hell bunker's sitting down there to carry.
Hell bunker is the biggest sand trap on the old course. It's bigger than the average green, and landing there can be catastrophic.
Hell's a pretty good description. You're down deep. You're down there by yourself. You don't know how you got there or how you're going to get out, and it's a steep face, and you really almost. I mean, if you hit it up against the face, you really should take another shot and hit it backwards, and leave it in the bunker, and then hit it out. Nobody does that. I hit it in there in 95, and I wasn't all the way into the face, so I thought I could take a pitching wedge and carry the lip and hit it out and knock it on the green. It caught the bank, straight down to the bottom. Now, I couldn't get it out with a sand wedge in any direction. So I took a couple more whacks at it into the bank. Finally, I had to figure out some way. I threw my club out of there before I could get out. It was something I'll never forget.
But despite its fearsome reputation, the 14th can provide the occasional moment of magic.
Oh, and he's bunged into the hole. What a shot! My goodness, Greg, no.
Well, I chose the 15th at Lytham, 464 yards. The tee shot was not a particularly descriptive tee shot. It was a slightly uphill tee shot. And then over the hill is a bunker about 60 or 70 yards short of the green, which you've got to watch out for. It's just sitting there asking for you. It's got some deep bunkers around the green. And it's, I just think, a very, very strong hole. I had one of the most unusual things that I have never, ever, ever, and I never will ever know what happened. That's one of the reasons why I picked that hole, because that happened to me. It's always been one of my mysteries in the game. I was into that little pot bunker that's about 50, 60 yards, 70 yards short of the green, and it was just up under the bank, and I hit my shot as hard as I could, and the ball came out and went up in the air, as did part of the bank, as did sand, and something came down and hit me on the shoulder and went in the bunker. Now, I couldn't see. There was sand all over me and all around me, and I turned to my referee in the match, and I said, "Did the ball hit me?" And he said, "No." He says, "That was a clump of dirt." But to this day, I'm not sure. Because the only time I've ever had a ruling in the game of golf that I wasn't sure that when I put a score down that I was correct.
While Jack's memories of Lytham in 1979 are shrouded in mystery, for the rest of us, Lytham 79 will long be remembered for one thing: the arrival on the world stage of the brilliant young Spaniard, Seve Ballesteros.
Nicklaus 2 over, and in the bunker, Ballesteros in a car park.
Rarely has the Open embraced a more popular champion.
Yes, there it is. 1 under par, 283, and a remarkable victory. And a moment of typical Spanish emotion as he's acclaimed by his brothers.
Seve won again at Lytham 9 years later, and in between those victories lifted the claret jug at St Andrews in 1984.
This for a 3. And he's just done it.
I needed another par 3. I needed a par 3 that was strong near the end of a golf tournament. And the 245 at Carnoustie was certainly a strong golf hole. It is just tough. Just a long, tough hole.
16th, Jack Nicklaus. Good tee shot there. Long par 3.
I used to play it with a driver. Usually played into the wind, usually with a driver, and a lot of times we couldn't reach it. So that is a strong par 3. I don't care whether you like it or not, but when you get a par 3 that you've got to play that long a club, well, and you walk off with 3, you've done pretty well.
In the annals of great sporting disasters, the closing hole at Carnoustie will forever be synonymous with one name.
Van der Velde second.
Leading the field by 2 shots in the last hole of the 1999 Open, the Frenchman couldn't lose. Surely. But a poor second shot, followed by a calamitous third, and Van der Velde's round descended into farce.
Totally ridiculous. No, what are you doing? What on earth are you doing? No, Jean, please, would somebody kindly go and stop him? Give him a large brandy and mop him down.
Well, these are unbelievable scenes.
No, this really is beyond a joke now. He's gone gaga.
Well, this is a total mistake. This could be one of the saddest moments in sport.
By the time he'd completed the 18th, his lead had disappeared, allowing Scotland's Paul Lawrie to clinch the title in a playoff.
Laurie's the winner.
Surprise, I picked the 17th at St. Andrews. It's a wonderful hole. It's a difficult hole. It's a hole that I love. Being as famous a hole as there is in the game of golf, as difficult a hole as there is in the game of golf, as dangerous a hole as there is in the game of golf, playing over a hotel into a blind fairway with the collection bunker in on the left side of the green into the road bunker, with the road on the right side of the green, a long, thin green, which if you carry the ball into the green, you're not going to stop it. It's going to bounce through. But once you get the ball into the fairway at the 17th, then you have probably the most demanding, difficult, scariest shot in the British rotation. Because if it's hit too far, it's in the road, my fella. You're going to have a hard shot.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
That one error of judgment at the 17th cost Tom Watson the Open in 1984.
I always played the hole. I usually played 3-wood off the tee. I usually played somewhere between a 5 and a 7 iron, and I always played to play short. I always wanted to take the road and the road bunker out of play. If it hit short and bounced up onto the front part of the green, fine.
What a magnificent shot.
It's a really tough hole. Then again, I've seen some wonderful shots when we played there, and I played there in 1970. Doug Sanders, he got up and down out of the road bunker and hit a beautiful bunker shot.
At the 17th, there's Sanders in this devilish road bunker. But there's one of the finest shots in the circumstances that you ever saw.
The road hole bunker is where many an Open Championship dream has become a nightmare. In 1978, Tommy Nakajima's challenge ended there when he took 4 shots to come out of this notorious hazard.
And it tries, but comes back again.
And in the 2000 Open, Tiger Woods' closest challenger David Duval came to grief when his second shot found the same trap. 4 shots later, his Open Championship was over.
If you're playing with your friends, you'll have a ball trying all different kinds of things on it. Playing in a tournament, you're best off using your head. In somebody's mind, there's always going to be a hole that is better or different than I could have chosen. And, you know, I just had to pick what I thought would make a really, really good golf course, a testing golf course, and a challenge to play. I don't know what the added yardage of this golf course is, but I would bet it's close to probably 7,500 yards. It's a golf course that, by today's standards, is a championship course. If you took that golf course and put the world's best golfers on it today, they would be challenged. They'd make some birdies, but they'd make some bogeys. I'd like to see what they would actually shoot, whether anybody would actually break par, and if it did, by how much.
It's the undisputed home of golf, and cites its designer as Mother Nature. And no golf course on earth means more to Jack Nicklaus than the old course at St Andrews. He fell in love with it on his first visit in 1964, and this course has no bigger fan than the Golden Bear.
St Andrews is just the best. That's where championship golf began. From my standpoint, it's where I chose to end my career. Because of its history, because of winning here twice, because of my involvement with the British Open and the history that I had.
In 2005, Jack retired from tournament golf at the Open. Where else but at St Andrews?
I've certainly never seen anything like that on the golf course before.
In front of his family, his fellow professionals and his adoring Scottish public, the greatest player in the world bowed out in style.
This would be quite a way to finish, would it not?
I loved playing in Scotland. I loved playing at St Andrews, and you know, I'd love to be able to do it all over again and end it at St Andrews again. The 18th at St Andrews, I've had more history at that hole than probably any of the holes in the rotation. But the 18th at Muirfield is where I won my first Open Championship. So for me not to pick that hole, I would be an injustice to Jack Nicklaus. That hole is got one bunker on the right on the tee shot, some bunkers on the left. You've got to play the right distance off the tee. You have to find how challenging do you want to be off the tee shot. The green is a green that has a low area that's sort of in a U shape and then bounces up onto a ridge and carries back into the back, bunkered on the right and left. It's a tough green to get the ball close to the hole. When I won there in '66, I played a 1-iron every round. And I know in the last round I played a 3-iron to the green.
There's the crowd coming up to gather around the 18th. There's Jack Nicklaus. Fine, purposeful face. Right down the middle in the perfect place.
It's one of the most beautiful sights in the game when you're playing the British Open, when you have all the stands lining that fairway. You go back there and play, that's a very flat area when you're playing without the bleachers. Not impressive from aesthetically without the tournament, but with the tournament, gorgeous. Clubhouse in the background, and the last hole I played it with the driver, 3-iron, 2 putts. The Open Championship was mine.
And here surely is the last stroke of the Open Championship of 1966. Jack Nicklaus.
That's where I completed winning all 4 of the major championships, my Grand Slam, my first one, and how could I not? Well, that's all from me here at beautiful St Andrews. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had great fun picking my dream open course, but I think I'd have even more fun playing it. Take care.